Hi monkeys, it's Alexa, and if you're anything like me, you get exhausted having to deal with clutter. So I found a book that absolutely revolutionized my thought process around cleaning and minimalism and owning things. The book is called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. She's a Japanese consultant. She spent her whole life working on cleaning and organizing, and I just love her philosophy because it's really quite counter to everything else you've probably heard. The bottom line, according to Marie Kondo, is love it or lose it. She doesn't use those words, those are my words. Love it or lose it. With each object, you ask yourself, does this spark joy? Does this make me happy? And I think that's a beautiful point of view. It's really a positive point of view. Basically, she suffered a lot with the kind of minimalism that's really focused on, let me cut back some more, cut back until I got nothing left. And then to some extent, often you binge in response. It's like dieting, right? You're oh, what can I eliminate? And she said it wasn't about what can you eliminate, it's what makes you happy. And for me, living in the same house for a really long time and being born and raised in the town that I live in, I have a lot of stuff, and I have stuff, and I have clothes, I have things from my childhood, from my teen years. Second is, she says, the reason we fail with tidying is that we go with mementos, and we get derailed almost from the start. So we start with stuff that's really hard to let go of, photographs, things that are valuable to us because they represent an emotional value or an informational value or some sort of rarity, and those things are very hard to let go of, and so then we just kind of stop before we start. So her philosophy, this is point number 2, is to go by category. Clothes, books, and papers, what she calls komono. I don't know how to pronounce it Japanese style, but anyway, that's basically miscellaneous stuff like bathroom stuff, gym exercise things, kitchen stuff. And the last thing is mementos. Now, where am I in this process? Really, I just got through kind of clothes and books for myself and for my husband and children, but I also did get through some other things, and I would like to follow her whole process because she basically says once you get things down to this bare point of decluttering, you don't ever have to do it again. So she argues against the whole do one thing a day approach because she says basically you just end up taking in more and you never kind of get ahead. And so she goes to this point of let's get down to what you really need in life and then work from there. And she says her clients don't backtrack, and she's got a long waiting list of clients. So point 3, I think I already touched on this, but point 3 that I had written down was choose what to keep, not what to get rid of. And I love her philosophy, which is, I think, partially due to the fact that she's Japanese and she's, I believe she's Shinto, is kind of her religious belief, or at least one of them. And so she's very animist. She actually believes on some level in the power of the objects. And what they represent, the energy that they represent. And so she says basically she thanks each item for its service, or what it's taught you. So having said all this, I'm going to show you my closet, and it's crazy. I've never had a closet that looked like this. So here's my room, and I just can't get over how clean it is. I have never had a dresser top look like that. To me, this is quite insane that it would be this clean. As you can see, I have my jewelry box in here because I had the sudden insight, well, gee, now that my closet is so empty, I should just put the things that were cluttering outside in here. My husband had put up this cedar boards when we remodeled this room, when he remodeled this room a few years ago, and as well as this hanging system. And I don't know if you can see it, but that's it. I mean, that's all the clothes that I have hanging. So Marie Kondo's approach is that you take all of your clothes out and you put them, all of the clothes in the house, and you sort everything. So check out my drawer of shirts. I'm sure she would fold it even nicer, but the interesting thing is that the Japanese, there's kind of a Japanese art of folding, and so she's into this whole vertical placement and then color-coded, and you know what? So, like I said, don't think I'm crazy. It is kind of crazy looking. But there it is. Those are all my clothes. My shoes are in another closet. And I don't have that many shoes. I got rid of, again, you know, a lot of them were mementos, so it was a little bit hard. I had some beautiful stilettos, but the honest truth is I wasn't wearing them. And then this bag exhibits another point that she makes, which is how to store bags. And she basically says store them like nesting dolls. One inside of another, but emptied out. All bags have to be emptied out. And the other thing she does is you store things vertically. So, and she recommends just getting shoe boxes. So I had this nice box and I stored things up in there. And those are my hats. I've got a few more costume items up there in those boxes. But to me, that's kind of mind-blowing how clean that is. I do believe that when you eliminate things, you make room for new things to come into your life. And a few years ago, I had started to focus more on trying to own fewer things of better quality rather than a lot of disposable things. So as an example of new things coming into my life, this is an Athleta top, and I really like Athleta. It's super cute. And I, having cleaned out my closet at the flea market, I ended up buying, I think 6 Athleta items that somebody was selling, and for pennies on the dollar. Her process with books is also interesting. She says, if you haven't read it by now, perhaps the purpose of the book was to teach you that you didn't need it. She says your bookshelf should be like a hall of fame or a highlights of the best things that you've read. And she says having fewer books increases the impact of the information, and you recognize necessary information more easily. Of course, it's hard to get rid of books. If you're a book lover like me, I've always wanted to hold on to them. And so this process was difficult. I did follow her advice, which was to take everything out, and I did it for the rest of the house as well. And even though I could still say there are things that could go that don't spark joy, there are some language books. I got rid of all my travel guides, even though part of me wanted to keep them as trophies, but, you know, I hadn't looked at them in a while. But you can see there's an empty spot. So that's a victory right there. Point 8 was papers, and really I love her point of view, which is just keep the necessary ones. Don't get into elaborate organizing systems. Point 9, gym doodads. Things that you thought were going to make you thinner or stronger. Again, you thank it for having served its purpose. Say, thank you for the boost you gave me when I bought you. Now, sayonara. Bottom line is, you want to live in a beautiful place that reflects how you are now in this moment, this beautiful moment. Let go of things and don't fear the future, and don't remain too attached to the past. Ultimately, I don't want to live in a sarcophagus of memories. I want to live in a beautiful space where I feel free to create and develop and grow with my family. I was very inspired by The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. I heartily recommend reading it. It took me about a day. I loved it. Ate it up. I hope you're inspired to live more simply.